Hello, Danny from Sheffield here to sing Wax's podcast jingle. Wax's podcast is when Mike T rodders my bum. Wax's podcast, I listen to it when I swallow Mike T's gobbledygoo.
Wow, USA, USA. I like what's going on here on Wax's podcast. Welcome to I can't fucking talk today, man. Can't talk. Episode 140, Wax's podcast. Once again, coming to you live or not. It's live right now as I fucking say it. But it's not live while you're listening to it because the only person listening to it right now is me. Wax's podcast, episode 140. That was Ed from Chicago with yet another version of the Wax's podcast jingle. If you're new to the podcast, the many inside jokes in that jingle will make no sense to you. You're actually probably going to be like, what the fuck was that? The awfulness of the teacup clanking was talking shit about Mike T. The awfulness of the accent in general, that Ed from Chicago, that's who made that. That was Ed from Chicago who made that. That was not a Brit. That was a man, an American man, a goddamn American man, talking shit about Danny from Sheffield and Mike T, the former security guard. And you know what? I like what's going on Wax's podcast here because Ryan M is kind of sideways involved. Me, myself, Wax is kind of sideways involved. There's a big shitstorm of controversy. If you've watched TMZ recently, you've seen me, you've seen Mike T, you've seen Danny from Sheffield, Ryan M weighing in, you've seen Ed from Chicago. We've all been on there recently. Talking about this feud that's being discussed worldwide. The Wax's podcast feud. Who's going to email in next week? Who's going to email in this week? I don't know. But it seems right now that Ed from Chicago stepped in with that jingle and took a couple shots. And he's now officially involved. And you know what? I'm on his team. This is the Olympics. And when it comes to the Olympics, I have a lot of positive thoughts about other nations in this world. Did really well music-wise in some of them. Had a number one song in Austria 4 weeks in a row, by the way. Platinum single in Austria, Switzerland, Germany. Got a lot of friends in the UK. A lot of friends that originate from the great country of Canada. But when it comes to the Olympics, there's only one country that I'm a citizen of, and that's America. That is the United States of America. As fucking horribly run as we are right now, I think I got to go with Ed on this one. I got to team up with Ed. Make an alliance against Mike T and Danny from Sheffield. And who knows, maybe wherever the fuck Mike T is from in the UK. I forgot where he's from. I just know he's from the UK. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe his shitty UK town, Nottinghamshire, Sherwood, Shireham Forest, Notting Forest, Hamville, Sherwood, wherever the fuck he's from. Maybe that town has a football rivalry with Sheffield. I'm sure, regardless, both of the mascots are the United. Maybe Sheffield United does not have quite the friendliest relationship with the fans of Sherwood Ham Notting Forest United. I don't know. You know why I don't know? Actually, the most recent sporting event I went to was a soccer game. My nephews are 4 and 6. Soccer is a child's game in America. In America, we see unlimited possibilities. We don't say you can't use certain parts of your body. American football, you can use everything. We kick, we pass, we run, we catch, we tackle. It's fucking it's such a savage sport where you're allowed to do anything, just like the American dream. You can do whatever you want. We don't tie your hands behind your back and say you can do whatever you want with your feet. We say you can do whatever you want, and it's a tough game. That's why people wear fucking helmets. Messi doesn't need a helmet because it doesn't get messy in that sport. By the way, I'm completely fucking around. I love soccer, actually. I really do like that sport. And also, my nephews are 6 and 4, but they play at the YMCA League in City Heights in San Diego. And while in my hometown, soccer is indeed looked at as a children's sport, much like foursquare, tetherball, dodgeball, soccer is in that category for people that have existed in the United States for a long time. But at the City Heights YMCA in San Diego, California, for many of those children, that is the number one sport of their parents' native land. So a lot of the parents take soccer very fucking seriously down there. Yeah. There's a big enclave of Somalians, Mexicans, Central Americans, and soccer is taken very seriously. But this all stemmed from me saying that I don't know if Mike T and Danny, I don't know if they have that kind of alliance that me and Ed have naturally as Americans, as we put our right hands on our hearts and pledge our allegiance. Isn't that fucking creepy? Maybe you can tell me, Mike T and Danny from Sheffield, maybe you guys can tell me. Did you guys have to pledge allegiance to the fucking Union Jack every day in public school? For those of you guys listening, that I might have talked about this on the podcast before, but I'm going to talk about it again. Every single day, from when I was in kindergarten as a 5-year-old to when I was a senior in high school as an 18-year-old. It's 13 years. Every single day before the first period of school started, everybody had to get up, stare at the flag, put your hand on your heart, and pledge your allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. This is the reason that people get so mad about flag burning, because it's kind of been drilled into our hearts that the flag is this sacred thing. I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying I did a video one time about Trump had said that people that burn the flag should be thrown in jail. And people are so sensitive about the flag burning thing that I made a video that I didn't think that was the right way to go. That I actually got physical threats. I received physical threats. I'll be at your next show. I'm going to fuck you up. As if I was the one burning the flag. I don't support burning the American flag, but I certainly don't support taking away someone's freedom to do so. Because I am one of the last remaining Americans. As I get older, I start to especially with the shit we're going through now, with Donald Trump, and with just the divisions in our society, I start to wonder, the extent of my own brainwashing as far as America is concerned. The history of the United States is fucked up. But I don't want to get into that today. I don't want to get too deep into that. I will get into something deep relatively. I wanted to talk about something before I get into fun things. This is a couple days ago, there was a suicide bombing at an Ariana Grande concert in Manchester. And actually, fuck, this makes me feel bad. Fuck. I'm really sorry. This makes me feel bad that I was talking shit about the UK to open up this podcast. I apologize for that, and I offer you my sympathy and empathy regarding that tragic incident. And not shockingly, the dude who did it is linked with ISIS, Islamic terror groups. And this is what I wanted to say about this. I think we need to fucking. I think we might, freedom of religion is good if your religion doesn't make you fucking kill other people. I think it's gotten to the point where we can't allow full freedom of religion anymore. I think that it would be a better fucking world. And this isn't just because of Islam. This is because this has to do with the past of America. Do I think we'd be in a better world if schools everywhere said you're not allowed to believe in heaven? You're not allowed to believe in that shit. I mean, you can't force somebody to think a certain way. You can't get inside somebody's heads and see what they believe in. But if you think that your time on earth is really just a small, meaningless existence, a trial, really, a trial run, a test. Will you pass the test? Life is just a test. Will you pass it so eternity is good? This is how people are enslaved. In the Bible, the Quran, both say that slavery is allowed. In the early United States, if you look at the lyrics of the Negro spirituals, a very, very, very common theme was, yeah, this life sucks, but soon we'll get to the promised land. After we die, we'll be in heaven and it'll be great. What a fucking brilliant way to enslave people. What a brilliant way to keep people docile and not have them fight back. To convince them that their life is meaningless anyway. In the current world, people are blowing themselves up and killing other people, thinking that that's a good thing, and that they will end up. Now, I haven't done a lot of research, but they think that they will end up in a pornographic paradise, a pornographic utopia with 72 virgins. And I just want to point out has anybody done the math? Hello? McFly? Muhammad McFly. 72. We're talking about eternity. If your fetish is de-virginizing women and you end up in heaven and there's 72 of them, if you de-virginize one a day, which by the way, in heaven you should be doing at least two. At least two. So let's say 2 a day. We're talking about 36 days. 36 days of eternity is spent deflowering your 72 virgins. If you got the first one pregnant, by the time you deflowered the last one, she wouldn't even be showing at all. Have you done the fucking math? It's heaven. Why don't you get infinity virgins? 72. 72 virgins is not a lot in a lifetime, much less eternity. If all you have to do is sit around and fuck, and for some reason, I guess, you want them to be virgins, that means there's only 72 de-virginizing fucks. After that, you got a bunch of non-virgins. Maybe the goal is to maybe part of the process is not just the first time where you de-virginize them. Maybe you teach them stuff along the way. Maybe it's a long process. Maybe I missed that part of the point. 72 is not a lot. We're talking about eternity. 72,000 wouldn't be a lot. Why do you believe this nonsense? Dude, it's at this point we can't have religious freedom anymore. We can have religious freedom for like Buddhists. If you want to sit there and meditate all day, that's fine. If you want to, I don't really know what a lot of religions do. This is going to sound like a bunch of stereotypical bullshit. If you're a Rastafarian and you don't want to cause any trouble, you just want to get high, listen to reggae, read the Bible. Maybe, I don't even know. Maybe the Bible has some evil shit in it. I'm just starting to think that in a civilized society, in the 1700s or whenever the fuck it was, that they wrote the Bill of Rights, and one of them contained freedom of religion. Keep in mind that at that time, religion was being used to enslave people. It's not even debatable that that's the case. Religion was being used at the time to enslave people. But even still, times have changed. The way that religion is being used now, we shouldn't be able to have fucking freedom of religion, man. I don't know what the alternative is. I don't know what the right answer is. I don't know whether, say for example with this recent shit, I saw a thing where there was like a friend of the bomber was saying like that he goes to the same mosque, and he's like, yeah, well the guy, I don't remember what it's called. I don't remember, the priest or the cleric or the whoever like is the priest of the mosque, He told the boys to stay away from that radicalization. Stay away from it was the phrase that they used. It's like, really? Stay away from it? Don't speak too harshly. Stay away from it. Stay away from suicide bombing. Just stay away from it. How about this? I don't know. I don't really know what the fuck he should do. He should be a lot more adamant than stay away from it. But the truth is, motherfuckers don't care. Because when you're religious, your religious beliefs are often more important to you. What the fuck is going on with, what the fuck is this? Hold on. Sorry. Your religious beliefs are often more important than the safety of others, especially others that don't have the same beliefs as you. And I think in this day and age in the Western world, a lot of people don't understand religious beliefs because, here in the United States, a lot of people might go to Catholic church on Easter and Christmas. And they view that as like, I have the freedom to do that. We all have the freedom to practice our beliefs. But like, I think it's actually no surprise to me that the people that are so fucking adamantly, the people here in America that are so adamantly, quote unquote, anti-Islam are often the ones that are quote unquote extremely Christian, because they actually understand faith. A lot of people on the right, quote unquote, Bible thumpers, they believe in the Bible. They really believe in heaven. They really believe in shit like Noah's Ark, the virgin birth, and they think they're right. So they know how that feels. They know how it feels to truly believe in the afterlife and that you're going to go to this amazing place as long as you accept Lord Jesus Christ as Savior. So how can that not be two completely competing things? Believing in two things, whereas everybody else is wrong and you're right, but they understand it. So they understand how powerful of a force it can be. People that tend to be on the left, who either, occasionally I wear a yarmulke when we do our weddings. Yeah, I go to mass on, every once in a while, like when my mom's in town, I go to mass. These are the people that don't really understand what it's like to be faithful. So they don't understand the impact that these fucking crazy ideologies can have on you. And in my opinion, and I think my opinion becomes stronger and stronger the older I get, I believe, in my opinion, we got to do away with this shit, man. Somebody on Twitter, I think it was that dude, I think it was Spose, put it really nicely on Twitter the other day, even though it sounds fucking, it's much easier to say than to do. It's kind of like, it reminds me of back when Rodney King said, why can't we all just get along? But he said something like the only way we can stop this shit is to make people understand that the Earth life is the valuable one. The life we're living right now is the one that means anything. The after shit doesn't mean a fucking thing. But yeah. Why am I being so serious today, man? Wish that I had you know what it is, man? It's like your thoughts and your opinions, like they just happen as the world happens. If the big story this week was that there was a clown threw a pie in the face of who's a silly person that's a celebrity. A clown threw a pie in the face of Sean Spicer. And Kim Kardashian reacted sillily. Then maybe I wouldn't be talking about serious things, but you know what? Sometimes, man, you move as the world moves, right? Speaking of moving, let's check in. As I reported last week on the podcast, we're gonna start doing. My man Nick Shea is doing a thing where he's getting on his bicycle, and he's traveling from Boston to New Orleans by way of all these little cities. And he did a GoFundMe. I'm not sure if you look on my Twitter, the top tweet, the pinned tweet, is Nick's GoFundMe. So donate if you can. I'm not sure if he reached his goal yet. I haven't looked at it, but if you can help him donate, he's just trying to get some food money and stuff like that. He's gonna be actually pretty well off, I think. But he sent me an email and he had a pretty interesting update. Let's see what Nick's talking about. What's up, Wax? Loved the podcast last week. Goddamn, that Bill Nye shit was terrible. I agree with that. Thanks for giving me so much airtime and for posting on your Twitter and everything. You are the man. Any of the ways you mentioned the weekly updates will work well for me. Just let me know what works best for you. What works best for me, Nick, is probably just to read this shit. I'm going to read it like the way I read most of the emails, but we'll talk about it in more detail. What I'd like to do is actually have you like call up. We can talk about what happened that day. We'll figure it out. But for right now, I'm going to read what you wrote me. Something big that happened recently. Almost all of my stuff was stolen from my bike. This was sent. This email was sent 2 days ago on the 22nd of May. Something big that was happened recently. Almost all of my stuff was stolen from my bike. I have been riding around with all my equipment and stuff on my bike to get used to the weight. This is all. When he says equipment, he's saying all the stuff he's going to bring on his trip. Essentially kind of like camping gear. Well, I'll just read further. My friend threw me a goodbye barbecue the other night, and it was a great night. I was hammered with all of my friends. Great. We tucked away my bike in the backyard and went to bed. Woke up in the morning, my bags were empty. The tent was gone. Clothes, toiletry, tools, everything. I was really upset and still in shock. I've been talking with different people about how to replace the stuff. I'm still going on this trip and still excited. I just understand that the world can be a dangerous place. People are amazing, but people can also be terrible. I see this as a big life lesson. I am currently over 2,000 on donations. Wow. Well, that's good, Nick. I'm really sorry to hear about all this shit. You're going to need the money just to start now to buy yourself a new tent, some clothes, toiletries, etc. Etc. Make sure you bring some warm shit, man. If you're going through the Appalachian Mountains, like even in the summer, it might get cold at night. Some people have been donating in person and through PayPal, so it doesn't all show on the GoFundMe. I feel a bit more vulnerable after this happening, but also informed and prepared for what might happen. I plan to leave tomorrow, but I will be leaving in a few days. He planned to leave yesterday, Tuesday, May 23rd. So he said a few days, so I'm guessing Friday-ish, maybe. I define few as 3 or 4. I will send an email when I leave and keep you updated on things as I can. Thanks for your help. Talk soon, my man. Peace. All right, that's from Nick Shea. So Nick's going on his bike trip, and that's where he's at right now. That fucking sucks, man. That is an interesting way to start out that trip. That is quite a life lesson. I mean, you summed it up. You said, people are amazing, but people can also be terrible. That is why you gotta be fucking cautious, man. I drove across the country when I was Nick's age. When I was 20, I drove across the country. Granted, that's not nearly as dangerous as biking. But I remember seeing people. I remember seeing in Kentucky, there was like people that just, you'd see at a rest stop that almost looked like they were waiting for 20-year-old idiots like me to either fucking rob them or rape them or kidnap them or something. So you gotta be on your toes, man. Honestly, dog, I don't know what you got as far as weaponry, but I would have a fucking knife in my pocket if I was you. I don't know though, man, because the one time I got robbed at gunpoint here in L.A., by the time I knew I was being robbed, my hands were up in there and I had a gun in my stomach. And if I would have had a pepper spray or a knife in my pocket, they probably would have fucking used it on me. They probably would have got it out of my pocket, fucking stabbed me with the goddamn knife, or sprayed the pepper spray in my face. Knife don't beat a gun, But if you just got some creep trying to use his fucking bare hands, it might be helpful to have a knife. I don't know. I'm not real good at fighting and shit like that. But yeah, just be careful, man. And you can be going through some weird places. There's weird places everywhere. You going through the city, you got some weird places. You going through the fucking mountains. If you're going through like Kentucky and Tennessee and shit, dude, like, you might think you're all alone in the wilderness, but there's other people up in them woods. Oh, it's all the people up in them woods. Hey, boy, you up in these woods, too. Don't think you all alone up in these woods. I'm up in these woods. There's a lot of other people up in these woods. Just be careful, man. I'm wondering, like, is it because there's bike trails? I'm sure that you've already done the research, obviously, but I mean, I'm a fucking idiot. I'm picturing you just riding on the shoulder of I-95 and shit. Like, that's pretty dangerous in itself, right? Might get hit by a car. I'm sure no matter what way you're going, it's possible to get hit by a car, but yeah, that's the update on Nick. So donate if you can, and we'll keep you updated. Nick, just try to give me an update every week, and we'll roll with it that way. Maybe the way I'll do it, since it kind of feels like a letter, is I'll just usually do it at the beginning of the emails section of the podcast. Another bit of podcast news that I'm excited. Well, I guess I'm excited. I don't know. I was excited about it until I sat down. Until I sat down in a chair. Just now, a lot of times when I do the podcast, I have a handheld mic and I walk around and I pace. And when I get excited about something, I might pace around and even jump down and yell and scream. But now I'm seated. So I'm not as excited as I was. I am fucking seated. But you shouldn't be seated, because when you hear this news, you're going to jump right out of your fucking chair. It is so exciting. So exciting. Guess what I did this week, y'all? Since I can't get any advertising on my podcast, I've decided to take matters in my own hands. And with the advice of my homie Rob Scallon, shout out to you, Rob, if you're listening, I made myself a Patreon page. Patreon, Patreon.com. Let me pull it up here. Pull up my motherfucking Patreon page. And why don't you pull it up on your computer right now? I'm gonna try to be a fucking entrepreneur. Remember last week I talked about businessmanship and how I don't have any? And yes, some of you guys are hearing this for the first time. We're like, businessmanship? That's not a word. I know it's not a word. Hold on. What the fuck, man? Did I not spell my own shit right? Hold up here. Hold up. All right. Yeah, what the fuck, man? Site looks funny as shit. All right, if you go to Patreon, patreon.com/bigwax, BIGWAX, that is my Patreon page. The way this works, I have 0 patrons so far because I just created this, but if you want to become a patron of the podcast, there are several different tiers. And the way this thing works is you pledge. So if you pledge to give me 50 cents every time I put out a podcast, and then you give me either a credit, you don't give it to me, you give it to Patreon, and you put in either your credit card information or your PayPal information, that means every time I put out a podcast, which I fucking swear to God, it will never be more than a week. I put out a podcast once a week, and if this starts going, I probably will put it out every week, but I put out a podcast every fucking week. I'm not going to start doing one every day because you pledge 50 cents every time I do one. Not a fucking asshole, okay? But there's a couple different tiers here. The tiers that I made, tiers that I created of your level of patronship. Now, if you want to be a bro, your reward will be my deepest appreciation. That means you can put down 50 cents. And every time that I do a podcast, it'll bill your PayPal or credit card 50 cents. And from what I understand, at the end of the month, you get like a statement email to which you can like say yes or no. I think that's the way it works. It'll tell you when you sign up, but it's basically if I do 4 podcasts, that means you would give me $2 if you're a bro. Now, if you're a pal, this is the reward you get. Remember, at the bro level, the reward that you received was my deepest appreciation. Now, at the pal level, PAL, which means you're giving me $1 every time I put out a podcast. For that, you get a level of my appreciation that somehow goes even deeper than the deepest level mentioned in the bro tier. So if you want to pledge to the podcast $1, I'd appreciate that. The next level is the buddy tier. If you want to be a buddy of Wax's podcast, the following is the reward that you will receive. Somehow, through the miracle of your pledge, I will actually find a level of appreciation within myself that is deeper than that of what I give to those on the friend tier. It will not be easy for me to do, but you will feel it in your soul, and trust me, it will be worth it. That's if you pledge $2 a podcast. That's actually a lot, man. That's like $8 a month just to hear my podcast. I don't think that's why you get such deep of a level of appreciation. I don't expect anybody to do that. But dude, fuck it, man. I have a song called No Real Job, and I wrote it last year in 2016. I wrote it almost as A, just for fun, B, to write some sick raps, and C, as a self-affirmation. A self-affirmation that I will never have to get a real job again. Now it's 2017, a year later. In that year, my Twitter numbers have gone down. My number of Facebook friends or likes or whatever has stayed the same. My number of views on YouTube have fucking plummeted. Now I sing that song as more of a prayer than an affirmation. So I'm trying to fucking work on my businessmanship, okay? By the way, speaking of that, the Wax's Podcast t-shirts are in print right now. They're being printed. And soon they will be available to you. Look at all these ways I'm trying to fucking get your money. I swear to God, it's not usually like that. Keep in mind, this is episode 140 of the podcast. There's people that do this as the first episode. There's a lot of people out there that start a podcast. T-Rex. If you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you've heard him on several episodes. He's one of my best friends in the world. I love the dude like a brother. But classic example of somebody who started a podcast. He did one episode. He didn't even put it out. I was the fucking guest. I was the guest. He did one episode. And at least he didn't do what I'm about to say. There are people out there that do one episode of a podcast that they have a grandiose plan for. They plan to do the podcast for years and years to come and have it become the next Adam Carolla, Joe Rogan, Mark Maron, whoever the other people that have famous podcasts are. They want to be the next one of that. So they figure, like, you might as well get started by starting a Patreon and asking for people's money on the first episode. Problem is, you never do episode 2. This is episode 140 for me. I've never done this shit before, okay? You know goddamn well I don't beg for your money in this fucking podcast. I've paid. I've been doing that. I just looked at my own Wikipedia. Why can I not say Wikipedia? I got a. I think that I might be reading this pod. I think that later I'll be reading this email, but I got an email that mentioned that somebody updated my Wikipedia page. So I was like, holy shit, I haven't read my Wikipedia page in a long time. So I looked at it. And I've been doing this podcast since 2012. That's 5 years. I pay a monthly fee to put out this podcast. I've lost much more than I've gained doing this podcast. I also receive many, many emails, comments, direct messages that say, why am I even doing a podcast? You should spend that time making raps, doing the musics. I tell them, you know what? I do the podcast because I love it. I love doing Wax's podcast. I don't ask for any fucking money. I do it not only for free, I pay to do the podcast. But you know what? 140 episodes and 5 fucking years later, I still don't get the goddamn credit I fucking deserve, god damn it. From the podcast world or the music world for that matter. But I'm not here for credit and I'm not here for money. But you know what? It's episode 140 and I've changed my tune slightly. Don't consider me somebody that's begging for your money. Consider me somebody that just, I'm just busking. It's busking, right? I'm just like a busker on the street. I'm not begging for your money. I'm just doing something and my hat is there. My hat is on the street. Except instead of being there, instead of sitting there with like a bucket and a guitar and some makeshift one-man band thing, or maybe I got a boombox and I'm doing a dance. Maybe I'm painted all gold or all silver and I'm doing like mime-ish poses, or sort of acting like the Tin Man meets a robot. Maybe I'm doing that. When you walk by, don't say, "Give me $1. Hey man, you got $1?" I just have my hat out. My bucket is turned upside down when I play it, but I have another bucket that's turned right side up, and if you want to put $1 in, you can feel free to, because that bucket is now there through my Patreon page. Continuing on, the level of tiers I mentioned. Oh, did you forget? Let me recap for you. Lowest level is a bro. It's 50 cents per episode. You get my deepest appreciation. Next level is a pal. $1 pledge per episode. You get a level of my appreciation that somehow goes even deeper than the deepest level mentioned in the bro tier. Want to go further than that? There's a $2 tier. That's where you're a buddy of the podcast. And if you forgot what you will receive for that, it's this. Somehow through the miracle of your pledge, I will actually find a level of appreciation within myself that is deeper than that of what I give to those on the friend tier, which, by the way, was double that which I give to those on the bro tier. It will not be easy for me to do, but you will feel it in your soul, and trust me, it will be worth it. You're just going to have to trust me on this. But the last and highest tier, the last and highest and most respected tier is the friend tier. All those other words, buddy, pal, bro, if you looked up the word friend and tried to find slang for friend, you would find those. But the root is the word friend. If you want to be a friend of the podcast, that's the $5 tier. And I realize that that's a whole lot to fucking ask. But that's the highest you can do. You know what I'm saying? This would just be like, this is for people, if there's anybody that listens to Wax's podcast, which I highly doubt there is, that's just rich. If you're just independently wealthy, maybe you have a good job, maybe you won the lottery, maybe you're a fucking trust fund baby. Maybe you inherited millions. And as you sit around on your yacht, wondering if the next thing you should do is get a professional massage, a manicure, or go to Fiji, while you wait and make that decision, what you'd like to do is listen to Wax's podcast. Maybe you could be a friend of the podcast. This just goes to show you that even on the lowest levels of society, money buys friendship. The friend tier. Now listen to this. If you want to be a friend of the podcast, $5 pledge per podcast, this is what you will receive. Not only will you receive the extremely deep appreciation that people on the buddy level get, I will also have a thank you section on my next album with your name in it. If I hadn't mentioned it on the podcast before, because I forgot what the fuck I said on any previous one, sometime this summer, I've already started it. I've officially started record. I mean, I've been started working on it. I pretty much have all the songs written. But now I'm starting the recording process on my next album, which is an acoustic album. It's gonna be an acoustic album this summer. I don't know if I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but this summer I'm gonna be doing a series called Acoustic Mondays. Every Monday in June, July, and August, I will be putting out a video of myself playing a new acoustic song out in my backyard. Fun little series for the summer. And either in the middle, probably closer to the end, if I'm being realistic, of the summer, the best of these songs will be on a new acoustic album, a Wax acoustic album, which will also contain some of my songs I've already put out acoustically, probably No Real Job and Handbasket. If you have any requests for songs to be on it, I mean, dude, doesn't matter. It's going to be new shit. Besides those two songs I just mentioned, it's going to be new songs, which many of them you will see on the Acoustic Monday series that will take place every Monday this summer, June, July, and August. And you're probably thinking to yourself, sure, Wax, yeah, you're really going to keep up with that. That whole time I said that, I was picturing you doing like one of those jerk-off motions, like making what you're saying sarcastic. But the fact is, I've already written the songs. I think it's like probably 13 or 14 Mondays that I'm talking about. Maybe 12 even, I don't know. But I have at least 10 finished new songs that I can play. I could fucking play for you right now if I goddamn wanted to. So I'm not worried about it. Within the next 3 weeks or so, I should have all the videos fucking stocked up, compiled, ready to go for Mondays. And it's going to be a fucking fun little series on my YouTube and my Facebook. I'm just going to, cool little summertime joint, And when I do put out that album, if you're a friend of the podcast, the $5 tier, the friend tier, on the artwork of that album, there will be a section that says "Thank you to all friends of the podcast," and it will list the names. This kind of thing, I'm gonna fuck myself in the ass by saying this, but this kind of thing would have been cooler when it was more common to buy physical copies of CDs. Because now when you see a album on Spotify, you only see the front fucking cover, And I'm not gonna make the front cover the friends of the podcast thing. I already know what the front cover is gonna be. It'll be the back cover. There'll be like the track listing and the thank you section. It will have all the friends of the podcast. And I'll get physical copies made too. But it's not as common for people to get the physical copy. At least for me, I don't listen to physical copies of music very much anymore. There is something special about it though. I think that's why vinyl is coming back, and CDs are kind of like going steadily, even more and more downtown. Down. Because there's still something special. I was talking to a friend of mine about this a couple of days ago. There's something special about vinyl. Like you have to actually get up out of your chair and flip it. Like it makes it an active listen. Something about that. I don't know what it is. Maybe it harkens back to a different time. Maybe it, I don't fucking know what I'm talking about. But sometimes, dude, every once in a while, just like, my brain just like, when you have an old computer and you're in the middle of something and it just fucking shuts off. And you gotta hit the power button. There's no rhyme or reason that my brain does that now. It just did. It just went, no idea what the fuck is going on. Where am I? What was I just talking about? Okay, well, I am in Sherman Oaks, California, at my house. I'm still looking at this Patreon page. So, yeah, those are the levels. You can be a bro, you can be a pal, you can be a buddy, you can be a friend. And I've got one post up there right now. It's last week's podcast. Wax's podcast, episode 139, is up there right now, where I discussed Bill Nye, businessmanship, and listeners biking across America. Of course, I was referring to Nick Shea on that. And right now I have 0 patrons. So it's patreon.com/bigwax. Let's see if we can get that shit going, y'all. I appreciate it in advance. With that said, let's do some questions and shout outs real quick. All right. right, where are we at here? Where the fuck are we at? Let me close out of this window on my computer. Let me close out of this window on my computer. And let me head right over, close that window as well, and I will head over to this window on my computer. All right, on the top of my thing, it says, talk about the Patreon page, explain the tiers. Guess what? Already did that. Check that off the list. Just so you know how I work, it also says play Ed from Chicago's jingle. And then it says start with make sure you do Nick Shea update from now on. So those are all reminders to myself. And you know what? I didn't even need those reminders. Didn't even need them, y'all. All right, shout outs this week. We got Joey W. from Alabama. We got Fen. We got Dan the Businessman, who recommends the short film Successful Alcoholics, the Enjoyable Drunk Couple. And you know what, Dan? That is, I actually clicked on that link. But it's a short film that's like 25 minutes long, and when I was going through the emails, you know, I didn't have like a spare 25 minutes real quick, so I actually still have that window open on my computer. I think I'm gonna watch it today. We got Mike N. We got Saint James, Petey Machete. We got Ghost in the Pines, aka Marion, who happens to own the Texas Road Stand, which is the official restaurant of Wax's podcast. That's right, y'all. The Texas Road Stand in Cedar Creek, Texas. The official restaurant of Wax's podcast, as I said last week. It's kind of out in the middle of nowhere, and it's really interesting and a good, cool thing to know about, much like Wax's podcast. No, but Ghost in the Pines, she did say she's happy to be the official restaurant of Wax's podcast and might. I don't even know. Let me see. Let me see if she emailed me back yet. Sorry, y'all. Sorry to digress. Sorry to digress. I've never done that on this podcast before. There's never been one digression in the slightest. All right, she did hit me. Oh, wait. That was before. Okay. So Marion had told me that she was thinking about doing a podcast burger. And that would be using the Wax branding iron. And I was like, so do you have a branding iron? Because I was gonna send her one. She didn't, because God knows I fucking have plenty of them in my garage, because nobody fucking bought them. Last year, for you guys that don't know, I made Wax branding irons. My logo on a branding iron. So like, if you heated this piece of metal up, you could brand your steak or chicken like people brand their cattle. Made a fun little video for it to sell them. Got 1 million comments and fucking direct messages. Oh, that's such a good idea. That's so funny. That's so creative. So original. But nobody bought them. But I bet you I know a couple people that listen to the podcast did buy them. So Jesus Christ, thanks so much to you guys. I think that I might have to have another. Last summer, I cleaned out my garage, and I had so much merch that I actually had an online garage sale, and I think I still have that website. So in order to sell these branding irons, I might have to have another one this summer, and I'm going to feel like a fucking asshole when I do it, because this is what sucks, y'all. This is what fucking sucks. I sold these branding irons last year at a price that would make me make a profit, because these things were expensive, man. I got them from like a real place where they fucking hand weld them, and it's in Austin, Texas, and it's like a really professionally done thing. I don't like to make shitty ass merch, you know? And I was selling them at a price that made it so I made a profit. And I did sell a few, but I have a bunch left over, and now I think that I would try to get rid of them and sell them for much cheaper, just because of what the fuck else are they going to do, sit in my garage? Do I need 100 Wax branding irons? No, I don't really even need any. But what's fucked up is if I sell them at this online garage sale this year for half the price I was selling them for this year, it's kind of like shitting on the people that did buy them at the regular price. It's kind of like, oh, they're like, well, why didn't I just fucking wait? I don't know. Anyway, this is what Marion said. I'm reading this right now for the first time. I do have a branding iron. I bought it at the Dallas show. You told me that before. I was thinking of doing an inside-out cheeseburger. Think lava cake, but with cheese and meat. Oh, like I think that means it's like cheese filled. Topped with haystack onions and bacon. Oh, bacon jam. then heating the iron with a propane torch and branding the top of the bun. I was really busy today, but I'll make one tomorrow when it's slower and send you a pic. Hang tight. That is amazing. I hope you fucking do. Send me that pic. I hope to God you do fucking send me that pic. That's gonna be awesome. But all that. What I'm saying here, folks, is that Marion is gonna make a podcast burger. So if you happen to be in Texas, which I don't have that many podcast listeners in Texas, but it's right. Cedar Creek is right outside of Austin, and if go to Yelp right now and just look, or Google it right now. Cedar Creek, Texas Roast Stand. It looks like an amazing place, and it's the official restaurant of Wax's podcast. And if you asked, I bet you Marion would be willing to do this. I don't know the menu off the top of my head, but pretty sure she has a meatball sub. I'm pretty sure she has a burger. I'm sure she has cheeseburgers, chicken sandwiches. I bet you if the order said, you know how you can say there's a chicken sandwich and you're like, can I get the California chicken sandwich? That means you're asking for whatever the fuck comes on the chicken sandwich plus avocado. I bet you with anything on the menu, I bet you've said, if she's like, oh yeah, we got French fries, and you said, well, can I get the podcast French fries? I bet you that Marion would heat up that fucking branding iron and brand some French fries for you. At least one. It might not look that great because a French fry is skinnier than the brand, but, that's why I should probably do it on a sandwich. Anywho, we got Shiro. Shiro. We got Puya from Iran, who is making a crazy-ass painting of my face and he sent me photos of the process. This dude is so fucking talented. Like, he took a photo of me and he's doing a painting of it, and it's just, like I've said on the podcast before, man, like, visual art is so out of my realm. If I tried to do what he did at the level that he's doing it, I would die of old age before I could finish the painting. We got OG listener, Brian the Trainer. Been listening since episode 1. Brian the Trainer recommends a rapper named Flawless Real Talk, who seems dope to me after watching one video. But as I mentioned to Dan the businessman about the short film he recommended, often when I check the emails, I don't really have a lot of time to check out the recommendations people send me, and then by the time I finish checking out the emails, I move on to other things, and I end up not checking out the recommendations. But that's why I always make sure to share the recommendations on the podcast. And if you have a recommendation to share here on Wax's podcast, my email is beatsforwax@gmail.com, beatsforwax@gmail.com. And if you have a question or a recommendation, or if you want to talk shit about Mike T, Danny from Sheffield, or Ed from Chicago, be my guest. All right. We're going to start with Booch. This is Ryan H. from Indy. He's also nicknamed Booch. Mike Jones. Hey, Wax, what's good? I thought I'd write in with a cool story to help jazz up your shitty podcast. See, you can say whatever you want on these emails. I still read them. Who knows? I don't read all the emails people send me on the podcast, but I read them all and respond to all of them. And I decide which ones I read. And, if it's a good email, I usually read it. Even if you call my podcast shitty, I'm probably more likely to read it the more shit you talk, honestly. Who knows? Maybe if you get more content, you'll get off your ass and release them on time. I've had a few beers, so I feel perfectly okay talking some shit to you. It's welcomed, Booch. Thank you. So last weekend, I'm driving home, jamming out to some Scrub Life in my shitty pickup truck. I've only got one window that rolls down, so I can only bless people to the left of me with my tunes of grandeur. As chance would have it, someone pulls up beside me at a red light and hears the blare of Red. This dude, Red is a song title of mine off my mixtape Scrub Life, which he was bumping. This dude shouted and waved at me till he got my attention and asked who I was listening to. I replied, I'm pretty sure it's one of the Hanson kids. No, I'm kidding. I told him who you were and to check out your YouTube. It's pretty fly that you have that sort of appeal to the ear, even in traffic. Also, thanks for reading Elizabeth G's letter to me on the podcast around 420. She recently updated your Wikipedia podcast episode count, so please give her a shout out. Well, shout out to you, Elizabeth G. I appreciate it. Like my Wikipedia page is funny. It says on my Wikipedia page that my main influences as a kid were Guns N' Roses and the Fresh Prince. I think I had one interview back in the day where I mentioned that because those are like the first couple tapes I bought from when I was a little kid and we first got MTV. So it says that those are my main influences. As you can tell by listening to my music, that my main two influences are Guns N' Roses and The Fresh Prince. And I've never had an influence since 1989. Dude, I appreciate you spreading the word like that. That is cool. I've done that in my life a couple times. Asked people in a car what they were listening to. I've been pretty excited recently about this project that I've talked about the last few years. This '80s music project that me and Davey are actually about to release. I just finished shooting the music video for the single. When you play this single, and my brother has confirmed that when he plays this shit in his car and he pulls it to a red light, people that are waiting across the street will start dancing. So that's a very good sign about the danceability of this upcoming single, which I think you guys are gonna fuck with. Dude, we shot a fucking this probably gonna be one. It's not even for Wax. It's for my side project called Caviar with 2 V's. It's probably one of the best music videos I've ever had. It's gonna be sick. Okay. Fuck, I didn't do. Oh man, here's another note I wrote myself. I'll explain. Wait, what just happened? Whoa, fuck. You motherfucker, where did it go? All right. Hold up, sorry. Yeah, there's another note. I wrote myself a note that I didn't do. All right, I'll explain to you what I mean by that after I read this. This is from Roland R. If you listened to the podcast last week, he wrote in and was talking about trying the all-fruit diet, which EOM recommended back in the day. Okay, I was able to try all of the fruits now, except for the Mysore bananas they gave me. They're still a little too green. He talked, Roland R., for background information, if you didn't hear last week's podcast, was talking about how he ordered all this fruit. He goes to a company that delivers like baskets of fruit, and he was getting all these crazy types of fruit that we don't really know too much about. And we're not talking oranges, bananas, and apples here, okay? They're still a little too green. The Sapodilla tastes sort of like brown sugar, but it reminds me of them hot tamale candies without the hot part. Some people might not like those, but the Mamie Sapote, oh my God. They taste like pumpkin pie. I can't believe nature can create such great flavors. Oh, and the star apple was like a blueberry and a rambutan, maybe. I don't even know rambutan, we talked about that last week. I don't know. If a rambutan walked in here, I'd be like, hi, what's your name? I'm Mike. This week I'll be getting some red custard apples. Another thing I like about fruit is that you can eat a different fruit every day for the rest of your life and still not eat all the different varieties that are out there. Roland R. And there's a PS too, but I had a note. Would be dope for you to buy a Mamie Sapote and eat one before the podcast, and I will keep that on. You know what? You guys are the witness. I'm making a list on my phone right now of shit I need from the grocery store, and it's just gonna say Mamie Sapote from now on. Can you get that? Can I go to Ralph's and get a Mamie Sapote? I don't know. Do I need to go to a specialty fruit store? Maybe Whole Foods or something? I don't know. But Roland's PS. Oh, yeah, by the way, I don't remember if me or anyone else has asked this before on the podcast, but I was wondering how many takes did it take for you to do the video coins and Wax and Herbal Tea Get Funky Fresh? Making sure to grab all the props at the right time in coins and having the camera time just right where you said, try again, there's no time to waste. Just make sure the drawing board you go back to is dry erase. And the video with your brother had you two going back and forth so perfectly timed also. Yeah. Okay, well, I guess the first part of the email about fruit is done. Hopefully I'll have an update on my my review of the Mamie Sapote or Sapote. Mamey space Sapote. As far as those videos, it's interesting. I've done a lot of music. I haven't done one in a while, but I've done a lot of those like one take type of music videos. And a lot of it depends on how many times you've the Funky Fresh one, for example, took a lot of takes because like we made the shit up and then we performed it, and like we hadn't really memorized it or recorded it ever or whatever. The same thing happened when I did Wax Goes Bananas at the crib. It took me a lot. It's that out of any video I've done, Wax Goes Bananas at the crib took me the most amount of takes because it was so much it was so many lyrics, and I had just came up with them. So anybody that Anybody that does this rap shit for a living knows that it's kind of two processes. It's like you write it. Sometimes in the middle, sometimes it's three. Sometimes it's write it, then record it, then memorize it. Sometimes it's write it, then memorize it. I don't know, but in this case, it was just write it, then perform it all perfect. Try to perform it perfectly, which is the same thing with the Funky Fresh one. I remember specifically that Coins, which had already been recorded, and I already kind of knew the lyrics too, but that one was more difficult because we had to record it in halftime to make it give it that effect, and we also had to do all the prop stuff. But that I remember specifically, Coins took 12 takes. Wax Herbal Tea got Funky Fresh took a lot. Fuck. Took a lot of takes. Probably fucking 30. Honestly. At least 20. But Coins took 12. I remember that specifically. And I think with Coins, I think we got one that was usable. And then by the 12th one was like, okay, that's the one. Which often happens in those kind of things. But I appreciate you listening to the podcast, and I appreciate you watching those videos, Roland. Let's move on to the next one. We got B Legend, the former security guard. Wax, first off, thanks for the podcast, answering my questions, and always replying to my tweets. There's a few things I wanted to say, so this email might be long. Sorry. 1, love the beef with Mike T. I actually was a security guard, too, at the observatory in Santa Ana. I've played there a couple times. Not anymore, so I guess I'm B Legend, the former security guard. 2, I wanted to share the story of how I became a fan and how it weirdly ties all together. So my family goes camping in Malibu every year for about a week at Leo Carrillo. I know Leo Carrillo. I think that's the one place in Malibu where they're dog friendly. I think that's why a lot of people go there. Even extended family comes, and we have been going for 40 plus years. I'm a freshman in college now, but I first heard about you on this trip from one of my friends my freshman year in high school. Immediately, our whole friend group fell in love with your music. Man, that's awesome to hear. We listened to it the entire week every year since. We actually got to see and meet you at the Santa Ana show and Herbal Tea, too. That's awesome, man. Anyway, how it all ties in is I know you're from Sherman Oaks, and that is the closest city with the 24-hour gym. I play football, so I have to keep in shape, so in the mornings I drive into Sherman Oaks to work out. Small world, man, small world. It's a dope trip. We do campfire songs every night, super white people stuff. You should come through and do an acoustic set. Sorry for the long-ass email, though. Just thought I would share. Thanks for giving the whole squad so many memories with your music. The first song I ever heard, by the way, was American Beer. Keep up the music and drop that album of old unfinished stuff. Yeah, I really should do that, huh? That might be something that like goes by the wayside, but I really should fucking do that. I don't know when you're saying you do that, but what the interesting thing is, I know exactly what 24-hour fitness you're talking about. I used to go there when I first moved to Sherman Oaks. I got a membership at that place, and I would go here and there. But ever since I started doing yoga, I quit that, and I just do that. Even though I haven't gone in a few days, I'm definitely going today. But I really should start going back to that gym too. But yeah, Malibu's not too far. With no traffic, Malibu's not too far away from here, so I can understand why you would do that. The acoustic thing, I don't know. First of all, I don't know it. You probably emailed me weeks ago, so I'm not sure if I probably already missed your trip. But I appreciate it, man. And that's a great story. It's a very common story about the spread. Hold on, let me get a sip of fucking water. But yeah, the spreading of music. I had a band. Hold on one second. I have a band. One of my favorite bands from when I was younger. It's called the Gray Boy All Stars. They're like a funk boogaloo band from San Diego. And me and my brother went to their show when we were 17. And by the time we were like 22, whenever they had a show in the DC area, like we would be bringing 20 people to their show because we just love them so much. And I actually recently started just listening to them again. Their music's fucking amazing. A lot of times when I do my Instagram story videos and I have like some funk music playing, it'll often be them. Yeah, but it's just cool how music gets spread like that. So I appreciate you telling the story, B Legend. All right, we got Travis F. Hey, Wax, hope it's been going great for you today. You mentioned yoga fairly often on the podcast, and it's helped encourage me to continue practicing myself. After being inspired by a Tinder profile that read, I do yoga to hardcore gangsta rap, I went out and did yoga to a few of your songs. It somehow managed to set a good mood for it while doing it. Nice. Do you listen to anything whenever you do yoga, whether it be on your own or with old ladies at the class? P.S. I watched that video of you at that as that cooking show judge today. I need to find a way to become a judge on there. The food that you got to eat looked incredible, and the fact that it got you really high. Travis S. Well, let me tell you something really interesting, Travis S. What he's talking about, there's a show called Cooking on High. It's on my Facebook. I posted the link on my Facebook page like 2 weeks ago. I can't. It's on YouTube. If you look up Wax Cooking on High, I'm sure it'll come up on YouTube. It's a cooking show that's kind of like Iron Chef, but there'll be two judges on the show. I actually shot 2 episodes in which I was a judge. And there'll be 2 cooks, and they go against each other, and they cook the judges a meal that's with weed and like THC infused food. And I shot 2 episodes in one day. I ate so much fucking food. I was stuffed with THC food. And when I got out of there, they get you an Uber so you don't have to drive home. When I was in the Uber, I was like, dude, the rest of this day is gonna be so fucking wacky. Because in the past, whenever I've had edibles, they hit me really hard, and believe it or not, I didn't feel anything. The shit didn't get me high at all. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it's my body. I don't know if it's the food, but I sat there and watched them put all this fucking weed oil in there. I didn't feel one thing after film that show. I don't know if they use fake shit or what, but didn't feel anything. Yoga and music. Interestingly enough, or not, or uninterestingly enough, compared depending on what you find interesting. I've never in my life done, except maybe for 1 second, just doing a quick stretch or something. But I've never done yoga not in a yoga class, so I've never been able to pick the music that's going on while I do it. It's always with the old ladies at the class. So the music is usually whatever the teacher picks. And believe it or not, there is I don't know how I would say believe it or not. This is not hard to believe at fucking all. But there's kind of a genre of music that is yoga music. Some teachers kind of use that that kind of meditation music that you would hear while at a massage parlor, just kind of ambient flute sounds, or you'll hear the background of a waterfall with some fucking gourd piano, or some weird oral synth. But that's very rare. What they usually play, let's put it this way, the most it's usually somewhere in between that and neo soul, an R&B, extremely laid back sort of R&B, a lot of Fender Rhodes, slow. The number one artist played at a yoga class is James Blake. Almost every, if you've ever booba dooba doo bap boo, whatever the fuck that song is, if you've ever been to a yoga class, it most likely in the last couple years played that. Damn, I got fucking got a fucking frog. It's not a frog in my throat. It's more it feels like I have a cat hair in my throat. Hold on. I've been sucking too much cat dick. It's something I do in my spare time. Suck the dicks of cats. What was I saying? Yeah. No, I don't really suck the dicks of cats. Yeah, James Blake is the most popular artist played in yoga classes. They would also play just light, R&B light. All right, who else we got here? This is Anan. Is Aran or Anan? Aran. Hey, Wax. Irish or Aaron? Aran? Aaron? I don't know. Hey, Wax. Irish Aran from Dublin, currently living in Spain. Here again. My question is, would you rather be deaf or blind? Been asking a lot of people lately, and always interesting to hear what they have to say. I assume you'll pick blind, though. Keep up the good work. Ciao. P.S. When you go on an international tour again, you should do a chain reaction worldwide. That's a great idea. I need to get on a fucking international tour again. Goddamn cat dicks. This might surprise you, and I'm not just saying this to be a contrarian since you thought I'd say blind. I think even though I'm a musician, even though I guess have sort of a talent gift for music, even when you cover your ears, you can still kind of like in your head, you can still kind of make a beat. Gotta be honest with you, I'd rather be deaf. I can't. I gotta be able to see, dude. I think when it comes down to it, as a human being, I think it would be I think it's a much bigger handicap to be blind than deaf. You can learn to read somebody's lips. People can write something down on a piece of paper to tell you. Sucks you can't hear a car coming, but you can see a fucking car coming. I want to look at I want to see the people that I love. I want to see, I want to watch my nephews play their soccer game. I don't want to listen to them running around and hear the whistle and be like, "What happened? Huh? What does he look like?" I think honestly it's a landslide that I would rather be deaf than blind. Fuck, it's no question landslide. I can't imagine why anybody else would pick differently. And if you love music, that's your first thing. It's like, I can't imagine living without music. It's like you can kind of like think of music in your head, and I think you can probably feel the vibrations of rhythm. You know what I mean? You can still dance. I need to be able to fucking see, man. All right, so it comes to this. We're going to open the podcast and close the podcast with bullshit drama. But I like Mike T because he's really, everybody is. But Mike T is really, really nice about his shit talking. This is Mike T, the mighty multi-currency man. Yo, Wax, I sent you love on the last email, but guess what? The world isn't all love and S-Town podcasts. So I'm back at it again with that real shit. First off, I sent you a video jingle because I know it gets to you. The content on the jingle about you sucking dick and making kids fat, that doesn't affect old Wax, but the fact it's a video, I know that gets to you. Plus, I'm going to send you another jingle, so you have to play it and can't go back to playing your "we don't even know what a podcast is" jingle. Ha 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 ha. I don't think you did send me one though, unless I missed that email. I may not have answered it yet. I do the emails in chronological order, so if you sent it in the last couple of days, I didn't see it yet. Second, I could kick Mr. T's ass and Conor McGregor's ass at the same time. What's his name? Fucking, he looks like Conor McGregor mixed with Mr. T. Is that what I said? While I count as currency, plus I'll kick Doyle Glazer's ass just for fun. Turn him into Soil Blazer. You know why? Because I'm the realest former security guard in the game, son. Third, you say I make outdated references? I sent that United Airways joke the day it happened. It is you who's slow with the emails. What, do I have to go back in time and send you emails? Pfft. That's a PFFFT. Pfft. If I could go back in time, I would go back in time to when your podcasts were funny. Wow. So I'd be going back in time forever because they were never funny. Fourth, I will give Ryan M. the title of great songwriters. The jingle was dope as fuck, but after that, the comment about rogering me mum, he will never get the hookup on foreign currency again. Actually, real quick, no one will get the hookup. This is, I think, him being serious now. Actually, real quick, no one will get the hookup on foreign currency. I'm leaving. Life's too short and all that shit. I handed in my notice today, and I'm going to go world traveling. Maybe come to America and kick your ass. I mean, come to one of your shows. Fifth, you said I need to be more concise with my shit talking. Just shit talking one line. Well, here's that one line. Back on that podcast episode ages ago, you did say especially. Don't know about Pacific, but you defiantly said especially. I hope that's not supposed to be definitely and you spelled it with an A. I might have said it defiantly. Because I admitted that I say especially. I admitted that. Instead of especially, I say especially. Boom. Gonna start calling you Hiroshima from now on because I just dropped the bomb, son. Probably should have said drop the bomb on you. think that's it now. Also, describe your first experience on MDMA. Just kidding. Anyway, the crew sounded awesome. Shame you didn't drown. Kidding, obviously. Ha ha ha. Right, I'm going to go back to being a robot. Have a nice day, and looking forward to the next podcast episode. Mike T. Let's unpack this real quick. First of all, I give you credit where credit is due. I do answer the emails late. So when you made the United joke and I said it was late, it was my fault. I'll give you that. You got a couple good zingers in there. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah. If you don't know the podcast, Mike T likes to talk shit to me. Mike T used to be a student because he stopped being when Mike T first emailed the podcast, he was a security guard. Then he stopped being a security guard because he's going back to school, and then he became a multi-currency man, which means he works in one of those booths at the airport where if I fucking land in Heathrow and I want to turn my dollars into pounds, I give the money to him and he gives me back the pounds. And he tries to act like he has a hookup on that. I don't know why he uses the phrase hookup because as I mentioned on one of the episodes, you don't have a hookup on that. You give me what the fuck it's worth at the time. And I also happened to mention that his job could be easily replaced by a robot. And lo and behold, now the day has come. I think it's kind of cute that you try to act like you quit your job. Life's too short. I handed in my notice today to go world traveling. That's adorable, and it's I applaud you for writing that lie and doing a pretty good job of making it seem like the truth. When we all know that what's really happened is the day came. The day came that I prophesized on my own podcast. The podcast that has contained many prophecies. Go back and listen. Count them. We're about 76 prophecies. And this was the 77th. I said that your job would be replaceable by a robot. I guarantee that if I were to fly into whatever shitty airport you work at right now, I'd be greeted with a fucking metal person saying, "Greetings. What type of currency do you have? Please stick it in my mouth and receive pounds out of my fucking metallic slot that would be located right near a human belly button. See it down there? It looks like where you would get gumballs out of a gumball machine. It's a metal flap. The last person, Mike T, who worked here, would have to actually use his brain and get out. You have to get the money out of his hand. He has been replaced by me. My name is the Meepzorp 2000. Face it. Yeah. But yeah, I guess I said you look like Mr. T and Conor McGregor combined. I forgot. I forgot why I said you look like Mr. T. Did you have a fucking maybe you had a mohawk in your picture? I can't remember why I said that. But yeah, that's what I got to say about that. I don't really have a lot of hate to spew your way. But that's where we are in the world, and that's where we are in Wax's podcast. And like I mentioned a little earlier in the podcast, where we are in the world is where we are on Wax's podcast. And our world is troubled right now. So as I say at the end of every episode, be safe out there.